alcohol, and also addicted to people, places and things, collecting, trying to be perfect and never so. And I went like this for 35 years, trying to fit in and trying to be a part of life, trying to think my way through to live. And what I found is if I get my emotional and spiritual well-being resolved and get myself living in the moment, feeling life as it is emotionally, then my spiritual connection to reality is more assured. I see the truth of now rather than interpret it through my history. And that might seem a strange thing to say, but if my history has 35 years of drinking in it, then I certainly need to modify my attitudes and behaviour on a daily basis to fit with reality. Not the reality I used to know, which was through the bottom of a glass. Now it's coffee. So I'm very lucky. So what helps me keep in recovery? Well, a fellowship, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for it, never can, never will. And part of the daily reflections which I share here from this book is all about Tradition 11, about anonymity at the level of press, radio and films. So why do these videos if anonymity is so important? Well, maybe it's about what you see is what you get in recovery. And the only place to find out how to be sober, I have found, which works for me, I can only say for me, is AA. In the meetings of AA, I see reality daily. Those who are new, those who have been around for a long time. And people are happy or sad, depending on their life experiences. But the one thing they aim not to do first is to take a drink. So if we can keep sober one day at a time, then we see reality as it is, and it improves. We improve our conscious contact with now. And a lot of people say that now is the only moment we have, and I tend to agree. The only moment I have found I have is now. So history can be helpful. The wisdom of the years of now not drinking, and the wisdom of the years learned when I was drinking. And there is a particular difference. I feel life rather than think my way into life. And that for me is important. Feel what's going on for me, my mood and my attitude, so I can then work on the behaviour to suit reality, not my perception of it through the bottom of a glass. So AA, how does it help me? Well, here goes the AA preamble shared at every meeting, and I emphasise it's what you see is what you get. This is not a promotion where there is a guarantee you will be fixed, because if we wait to be fixed, it's like watching television. We judge it and we don't live it. So the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's it. Sober first, so the rest of life can work. And it took me a long time to work that out. I always thought that if I was putting sober first, I was being selfish. But in fact, what I am being is realistic. If I'm sober, then life can work. I can connect and be included in family, community, society, whatever place I happen to be, with that primary directive in me, which is to love, be loved, and useful. That's how I see it for me. So AA has put me back on the single track of sobriety, so that my life can work as best it can. And yesterday was difficult. It was going to hospital to get tests, and now we've got snow coming, and I can't get the results probably, but that's all right. I shall get them eventually. I shall have to ring up. And I didn't keep it simple. I was just aiming to get to hospital, do the tests, come home. But I went for the post office and got stuck in customs charges. I went to the DIY shop to get a breast pole, to put the curtains up behind me. There's a breast pole, you can see in the background there. and on that are blackout blinds which keep the thermal insulation in as well. So it's, and I bent the pole because I fastened it too hard to the bike. Going around with a 6-foot pole on your bike is not a good idea, especially in the conditions of extreme cold yesterday. And my computer packed up on email and you name it, little niggly things, the mice, not the elephants. The elephants for me are always about retaining sobriety and my conscious contact with reality, and the small things in life can interfere with the big picture of living well and letting things go. So I need work on my sobriety daily. So daily reflections for today from this book, November 30th, and it says protection for all, and this is where I can get into trouble with my fellows. At the personal level, anonymity provides protection for all members for identification as alcoholics, a safeguard often of special importance to newcomers. Anonymity affords sanctuary to find our truth. At the level of press, radio, TV and films, anonymity stresses the equality and fellowship of all members by putting the brake on those who might otherwise exploit their AA affiliation to achieve recognition, power and personal gain. And I hope I can understand that in the context of my sobriety, and I'll share how in a minute. Attraction is the main force in the fellowship of AA. That is, what you see is what you get. And I'm only one voice, so we need the many voices to stay sober, and it is the many voices and the many people who are sober daily, sharing their experience, strength and hope, that makes fellowship work for me. The miracle of continuous sobriety of alcoholics within AA confirms this fact every day. It would be harmful if the fellowship promoted itself by publicising through the media, TV, press, radio and the sobriety of well-known public personalities who became members of AA. And then here comes the crunch. If these personalities happen to have slips, outsiders would think our movement is not strong, and they might question the veracity of the miracle of the century. Alcoholics Anonymous is not anonymous, but its members should be. And in recovery we often say there are no shoulds for individuals. We work out, we have a set of suggestions, 12 steps which are suggestions, 12 traditions which are suggestions. And that's not a get out by me. But when it comes to sobriety, I know I slipped and slided quite a while before I actually got the message of rarely have we seen a person fail who thoroughly follows our path. And it takes a while to thoroughly follow the path. So when it comes to personalities slipping, and that they're in the limelight, there is a danger that people might ridicule AA. But we need to face the truth of sobriety. Some people do slip. Any person can slip if their life circumstances get difficult, either because they are successful and they forget what the success came from, that is sober living in the moment of now. So my contention, if you like, or the resolution for me has been this: in fellowship with everybody there, what you see is what you get. And that's not promoting anything other than truth. When it comes to personalities promoting AA because they're sober, then that may be a problem. But I don't pretend to know all the answers. I just know the answers on a daily basis like anybody else in fellowship. So when I close down now, I share the Serenity Prayer, and it helps me with my conscience. So the Serenity Prayer to God or good conscience: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, reality, courage to change the things I can, which are in reality, and the wisdom to know the difference, for me, is just for today. DonInLondon, hello, good morning, November 30th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, my addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, also could be cross-addicted into work, relationships, you name it, filling a gap inside me and wondering what life was all about. So for many years, a drinker of alcohol, convivial, joyful, happy, sad as the moment afforded, but always, I suppose, influenced and in some way dependent on taking the edge off my feelings and my misunderstandings maybe about life, about my life, and not quite knowing who I was. So the gift these days is to be in recovery from drinking alcohol and obsessing about work, relationships and other matters. Doesn't mean I'm perfect by any means, it's just progress one day at a time. So the gift of recovery for me is to find out who I am becoming one day at a time, rather than who I thought I ought to be, or trying to be the person you thought I was. So rather than second guessing life these days and second guessing what you want from me, I don't do that anymore. I just try to be me, and that is the absolute gift, learning how to be me on a daily basis. So why do I stress the daily basis? Well, that's the time frame which seems to work reasonably well. Living in the present moment, not looking back too hard at the past, not staring, but just acknowledging what it's taught me, the wisdom of the years. So the wisdom of today is try not to drink. And what's helped me do that? Well, family, friends, professionals kept me alive long enough to get at least one moment of clarity which said, I've been in ignorance of what alcohol did to me for many years, and now I could be in denial again. So I admitted that I had a problem with alcohol, I had become dependent and addicted. But the admission is just the starting point, and then it's acceptance. And what I've found about acceptance is it's good for a day, and every day I remind myself that I could go backwards into the dilemma or the problem of drink, and the problem of self-obsessing and obsessive behaviour, and trying to fill that fearful gap inside where I felt there was something wrong, not realising the gap was there to keep on learning. So what's keeping me sober today? Family, friends, society, and a fellowship which taught me to put sober first. So if I put my sobriety first, then the rest of life can work, so I can be able to love people, be loved back, and have something useful to do. And keep it in the moment, keep it in the ever-present, imperfectly perfect moment of now. So a fellowship keeps me safe, that's Alcoholics Anonymous, and I share the statement of intent here because it's part of my daily meditation. It reminds me of where I am, and it goes like this. It's the AA preamble shared at every meeting, and as I always say, I don't speak for AA, I don't speak for the people in AA, because everybody in fellowship is unique, authentic, on their own path, and they choose to speak and share as they wish. So I just share my experience, strength and hope of how it's helping me. So AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And what has fellowship done for me? Well, it's made me understand what it's like to be included in life again, to be a part of, to understand that I have choices on a daily basis, and that I have friendship, and that is one of the biggest assets that I've learned in recovery. To have friends, it doesn't have to be thousands or tens of thousands, but to have friends who I can rely on, who understand where I'm coming from when I'm not so good with life, and when life is really good. Because either way, whether it's bad or good, I can be forgetful about what keeps me safe and sober, and that's being aware of me in this one moment. And I go to meetings of AA regularly, and they help me, and I listen to people who face adversity and also serenity and also happiness. And even when people are in the worst of circumstances, where they're facing something which they cannot overcome, and that can be illness or the way the world is today. They're powerless over what is going on. We hear strength of the message. I need not fear what is going on, because I'm a part of something, and I can make the best of what I have. And having faced the challenges in recovery of other ailments getting me, or just becoming susceptible to other ailments like type 1 diabetes and clinical depression, they go hand in hand to an extent. Doesn't mean everybody gets it that way, but that's how it got me. And also having clinical depression, it seems, from the pathology of my notes, from the 60s. So it's always been there. And what did I use to overcome it? Trying to be perfect, strive, and strive again. And never so, never perfect, never satisfied. So as we try harder, we can actually consume our energies and resources and lose the plot. So drink was a good way to find oblivion when I couldn't understand life or make it work. And that's what fellowship has taught me. I'm just merely a human being making the best of what I've got. And in the program of AA there are 12 steps. 12 steps of action to change my attitude and behaviour to be as good as it can be. And the 11th step, which is November in the literature of AA, is all about prayer and meditation. And whether we're an agnostic, an atheist, or a believer in a higher power or God, it doesn't matter. Well, it matters to the person, of course, and to me. But what matters is prayer and meditation seem to have a place in my life. So life experience can make me an agnostic, an atheist, or a God believer. But prayer and meditation is a way, and reflection is a way of keeping my feet on the ground when my head are in the clouds. And I was reading, I'm not actually necessarily going to use something from the AA books, but I sometimes read this, Around the World, or Around the Year with Emmett Fox, and today's was really a pertinent reading, November 30th. It says, slow to judge. Many years ago, a professor wrote a book in which he said that you could always tell if a person was a potential criminal by the shape of his ear. This naturally created something of a furore, and a London newspaper sent a reporter to interview old General Booth of the Salvation Army on the subject. The reporter said, "General, you probably have an unmatched experience of human nature in the raw. Do you believe there is such a thing as a criminal ear?" William Booth laughed loudly through his mosaic beard and replied, "Why, of course there is a criminal ear, and we've all got one. If it were not for the grace of God, or good conscience, every one of us would be doing time or deserving to." William Booth understood human nature. You never can afford to condemn another, because in his shoes you would probably have done just as badly. Have you not noticed that sometimes after condemning someone else rather pharisaically, you have shortly afterward caught yourself in a moral failure? Wisely did the Master say, "Judge not." And it goes on to say, "But why dost thou judge thy brother? Or why dost thou set at naught thy brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Christ." That comes from Romans 14:10. But the sentiment, whether you believe in God or not, is there. If we judge others, we need to look at ourselves and our moral dilemmas that we face on a daily basis, because judgment comes in so often. So prayer and meditation for me today is really about making sure I'm right-sized, no bigger, no smaller, not trying to judge others as they are, but let them be as they are, so I can be as I am, and keep on learning how to live life soberly. And at the end of these videos I will share the serenity prayer, which can be to God of your understanding, not mine, or to good conscience, or to whatever higher power is working for you in your life. It can be a fellowship. Serenity goes like this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is simply and always just for today.